in the early days, especially before the product market fit, data alone is not enough.
Horizontal SaaS, or nowadays it's horizontal AI, actually, which is obviously the most frightening as a VC, but it's the most powerful in terms of TAM.
So you can sell to an enterprise like NASDAQ in a month or two versus a 7 months process.
So welcome to another episode of Spotlight. I'm Eran Bielski, a GP with Entrée Capital, and we have with us Yoav Einav, the CEO and co-founder of Guidde. And today we're going to talk about PLG, PLS, and essentially how this go-to-market method can bring you to $1 billion of ARR.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us. And I'm Yoav. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Guidde. Basically, my background is I originally started as an AI engineer, focused on video, focused on big data and AI, and then I moved to different product roles in different early stage startups, and looking forward for the chat.
All right, so I think what's interesting for our audience is basically understand, first of all, what is PLG, what is PLS, and how did you come to the decision to start this kind of one? So just maybe let's start with what is it and why did you start doing it? And maybe even before that, what is Guidde?
Cool, so first of all, Guidde is, in essence, in 2 seconds you can create a video that explains any feature, any product, any workflow to your users or to your employees, using AI, of course. Now, first and foremost about PLS, so my background is product, and when we built Guidde, we wanted the product to be front and center. So the product to be the marketing channel, the sales channel for us. And PLS, in essence, is a way to leverage PLG for more sales and enterprise motion. In PLS, it always starts with a self-service acquisition. Mm-hmm. It's exactly like PLG, but the main difference is that you loop in sales very, very early on in the sales process to upsell or convert beyond the individual or the team level. Now, most people don't know it, but more than 75% of the revenue of the top PLG companies, if you look at Canva or Miro, Notion, it's all about sales and product-led sales, and not the PLG.
Why do you think that the combination of those two is more powerful than just product-led growth?
So, first of all, to have a really effective PLS motion, you need to layer on top of the PLG a data-first sales motion, finding those intent signals like conversion signals, product usage, adoption metrics to help you loop in the sales in the right timing. Now, with that type of approach, the sales cycle is much faster versus traditional sales. Like, let's say you can sell to an enterprise like NASDAQ in a month or two versus a 7 months process. Second of all, you can leverage the PLG, PLS concept to upsell within an org. Let's say you sell to a specific team in a company like Siemens. You can move beyond different departments, different geos, from the US team to the UK team, from the L&D team to the support team, using viral loops within the product, which helps the sales reps expand much more effectively. And then the ACV are higher while maintaining a relatively low acquisition cost.
So this is amazing. So this is what we love about this go-to-market. And as early investors in Monday.com, we've seen this sort of unfold in the last decade, where essentially you say, okay, in order for me to get to go-to-market fit in the beginning, it's sort of intertwined with product market fit, right? I remember in the early days, some companies are obsessed about revenue, right? I need to get to the 1 million ARR to raise the Series A. And I think that you and Dan took a more seasoned approach where the focus was on making sure the product works. And how do you see if the product works? You give it to somebody and you track their usage, right? And once you see that they use it and they love it, then you start thinking, okay, so how do I expand into more departments in the organization? And how do I maybe even come on top with a sales motion and close an enterprise deal, correct?
Correct.
So let's talk about day one. We have founders listening to us. They're now starting and they decided for whatever reason it's a good idea to start a startup. I'm sure you can agree with me, that's crazy at its own. They want to do PLG. What should they focus on to make sure they got it right? How do you think about it? Is it data-driven? Is it just a feel?
So I would say, first of all, PLG or PLS, it's not a good fit for every product. It really depends on who you target, the size of the deals, the type of users that are using the product, and if you can reach a how moment in like 5-10 minutes or maybe one day. Then on top of it, it's a data-first approach. Like, without measuring the the visitors in your website to signups, the signups to activation, whatever it means in your own specific product, activation to conversion, like all those metrics across the funnel, you have to be able to measure it and correlate it to future adoption. Now, one of the tips I usually give other founders is that in the early days, especially before the product market fit, data alone is not enough. In the early days, you have to talk with design partners, you have to understand their workflow, their usage, their day-to-day needs. And then once you reach the product market fit, you can really base your decision on data alone.
So you're saying, although you're doing a PLG motion and at scale, you want thousands or millions of users to touch your product without your interference and just start using it. In the beginning, whilst that's how you get to them, you still want to have a conversation with them and see how they use in order to make sure that what you're seeing in the data is actually correct and is correlated to what you want to build next. Is that correct?
Correct. In the early days, you don't have enough users, enough data, and you want to make sure you're focused on the right ICP and the right profile, and talking with them is critical, not just the data itself.
So I'll tell you what I love about what you're doing. So you're doing horizontal SaaS, or nowadays it's horizontal AI, actually, which is obviously the most frightening as a VC, but it's the most powerful in terms of TAM. Once I could see that you have customers that are like a beer company, a university, IKEA, right, the NASDAQ, then you understand the power of horizontal. But why don't you unpack for our listeners what exactly you think is going to enable you now to make that leap? What's the next 5 years? How do you make now that, 10 to 100 and 100 to billion leap?
Cool. So I think it's twofold. One is really about the product itself and the jobs to be done that you address. And second of all is the marketing channels and how you reach the specific segments that you want to go after. Now, taking that into account, now we understand where's the best entry point for us into a large organization. Let's say it's like learning and development or IT help desk, or really depends on the use case. And then you're looking for the right, I would say, marketing channel to reach those at scale. And what works, you just double down, you improve it with more personalized, I would say, flow from the ad to the onboarding process to within the product. And then you keep iterating on other campaigns to start to keep testing what works on top of it.
And you measure that? Like you actively look and say, okay, they expanded, X and this is what I wanted to happen, or they expanded Y and I didn't want it to happen, and what happened?
So one of the metrics we measure, it's called the K factor. It's basically how many users each user brings to the product. So we invested a lot of focus and learned from B2C product that do it pretty well, how we can make people who watches video to actually try out creating videos. And that has a lot of a lot of it is related to personalization.
What I love about that, and you talk about it from the product angle because you built it.
Yeah.
But from the VC angle, what I'm seeing is, okay, so the CAC for such organization for PLG is $200, $500. It's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an ad, or it's the product hunt launches that you've done, or PR, or whatever it is. And then if you expand this over time and you get to a K factor, which essentially means that if a K factor is over 1, then you're growing exponentially, right? Because every user brings a user and a half, and then you grow and grow and grow. So the ACV at the end of that looks what, like 6 figures?
Yeah, so 6 figures and higher, and I think
higher.
And I think what's unique about it is, like, we look at PLG and PLS as two different business units. The CAC, the ACV, the LTV, like the retention and churn, everything is really different. But the PLG, basically, it's a machine that feeds the sales pipeline and the sales machine. So I think what's unique about it is, first of all, the sales cycle is much faster. Like, you can close a deal in 40 days with a company like NASDAQ or American Eagle, which is amazing. Yeah, amazing by itself. And then also, when you sell to an enterprise, let's say you had a Zoom session with sales with one team. 10 people joined the Zoom session.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you to reach like hundreds or thousands of people within the org. So the virality of the product and the PLG motion helps you also expand within the product. And that's how you kind of have the product team support the sales cycle, and versus like many companies that feels that the self-service is like cannibalizing the sales motion. So they actually can intervene and help one each other.
The product has to win. There's no Yoav explaining the user.
Correct.
He sees it, he uses it, he loves it. Okay, now we start with the product PLG. So how do I make it expand? How do I make it move into more departments? Then you have PLS. So you have people that call them up and say, hey, there's X teams loving this. maybe you should try that team or that feature. And then what you say is not only that, but even after sales has closed the deal, and you have a bunch of users in the company, it's still not everybody, and I want everybody. So the PLG, in terms of the product, kicks in again with the virality loops to create even more adoption. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
Correct. That's all. I think that's what usually people are missing. They look at the PLG as like a sign up to conversion, like it creates revenue. They don't look at it as a really great way to help sales expand beyond the team or the individual level.
Do you think it's possible for a company that starts with top-down sales to change and become PLG, PLS?
So I think it's possible, but it's really hard and really depends on where you're at in the life cycle of a company. Because first of all, it's like the basic thing is a culture shift. Like it's the people you hire, the data-driven approach, everything you need to do it has to be measured. The KPIs, you have to have alignment between marketing, product, sales, and you have to be able to measure the efficiency of your marketing, because we're talking about sales cycle, a bit usually lower ACV, at least initially, and then expanding. So I think it's doable, but you need to make sure it's in focus, you have the right KPIs and the alignment between the teams to make it happen.
I think especially in marketing. So the marketing it's sort of not really core to the business. It's sort of a supporter, right? You have sales, you have R&D and product, and they're sort of in the background. With your company, marketing is the core, right? It's the engine that powers everything. Do you find talent to be scarce, to be abundant?
Yeah, so first of all, marketing is the core of the product, right? Everything we do, both generating revenue on the PLG side, generating the pipeline for the sales side, everything is driven from marketing side, everything is inbound. We don't do almost any paid marketing. We don't do any outbound. We talk only with people that actually use the product, love the product, and only then reach out. Now, the thing about marketing is most people that have been doing PLG and they've done it successfully, they didn't do like a PLG to enterprise motion. So it's a different type of velocity and cycle. So I think when you look at talent that is doing PLG and a PLS motion to going up market, that's really hard to find. Building it is not as joining a company like Monday today that has a great machine that works, and you just need to make sure it keeps working or tune the improvement, versus like building it like I would say joining Monday in 2014. So.
And also with regards to product, I mean, you're Gen AI at your core. Yeah. So we've been using this for a couple of years now, and essentially you're a product that helps people, get shit done, right? And understand what it is they need to do. How do you see the role of AI, agents, autonomous software? Where's the puck going here, and how do you view Guide's role in that new reality?
So I think, first of all, a question that I've been asked a lot is, will Gen AI replace marketers or product managers or designers? I think the best people will just leverage it to be 10x better and to reduce the friction, to reduce like repetitive tasks and stuff like that.
And is your strategy built to just attach yourself to one model because they're improving so fast? Or are you building sort of orthogonally, and then whatever model comes in next, you just plug it in?
So actually we're testing at every given time. We're testing different models and different version, and what we've been doing so far is actually testing at every given point the new models, building the infrastructure to test the prompts. Prompt engineering is a big thing, to do A/B testing, because it's really hard to measure quality of output of a model, because you change one thing, it could break another thing, and do it in scale. And sometimes we even use LLM models to actually evaluate the other LLM models. So it's kind
LLM on LLM.
Exactly.
All right, so we have basically, it's not one size fits all. So every even feature in the product might use a different LLM, and then you have sort of a QA LLM, which then looks at the output and says, this looks okay, this doesn't look okay.
Exactly, and also in terms of, by the way, cost efficiency, sometimes the LLM we use in the freemium version is a bit different than the enterprise version, just to make sure our cost
the COGS
is not too high for the freemium version.
Yeah, so we don't have a heart attack at the board, right?
Exactly.
We understand that basically you have product market fit, you have go-to-market fit, and now it's all about scaling. So what's the barrier? What's the delta from now to IPO?
Cool. So first of all, product market fit is a moving target, right? At every given time, you need to keep measuring it and making sure you're still on spot. And also another thing is every channel, every source, every campaign has some sort of a barrier, right? It can take you maybe to 1 million in ARR, to 10 million, maybe to 50 million. So you need to keep measuring, make sure you're still efficient, and keep finding new ways to scale. Maybe in some point you need to start doing more outbound versus just inbound and stuff like that to really to go to a 6-figure deal, maybe even faster. So I think it's all about spending more, measuring it, making sure it keeps working and increasing on one hand.
Lastly, our audience, any tips for early stage founders out there building PLG, PLS companies other than, don't work with Entrée?
Yeah, so I think first of all, what I stated before is data-driven approach is really important. Make sure to measure everything, especially in the product, on the marketing side, but don't neglect the users. Always keep talking with them, interview them, and make sure you get the right feedback from those users without just looking at the data. Second of all, I think experimenting and testing and be ready to fail is also as important.
Well, you've heard it from the master. Yoav, thanks so much.
Thank
It's been
you.
an absolute pleasure. Eran Bielski from Entrée Capital. This has been our Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you don't, move on to the next content.
Thank
Cheers.
you.